Okay, welcome back. This week we are going to be talking about water soluble vitamins. So, last week we talked about fat soluble vitamins, including vitamin D, vitamin A, vitamin E, and all those need a little bit of fat to be absorbed in the body. Whereas water soluble vitamins, you actually don't need to have that fat to be absorbed. But the other thing, the fat soluble vitamins can be stored in fat, so you don't always have to have them every day. But water soluble vitamin, you actually do need to take it on a daily basis. And water soluble vitamin are important for energy metabolism, blood clotting, also in protein and amino acid synthesis. When we talked about the energy cycle, a lot of the vitamins are important in all of that. Vitamins are also, some of the vitamins are great antioxidants. They're important for gene expression and bone health. Um, okay, so the B vitamins include thiamine, riboflavin, niacin, pantothenic acid, um, biotin, uh, vitamin B6, folic acid, vitamin B12, as well as vitamin C. So most of the vitamins we digest, and it goes into the stomach, and then it is absorbed mostly in the jejunum, um, but vitamin B is in the ileum. Vitamin B12 is in the ileum. Okay, but if you take too much, um, actually you're just going to urinate whatever you don't need out. So some people take lots and lots of vitamins and they don't really need to. Most of that is actually just eliminated. So having enough vitamins but not too much is probably the best. So as I mentioned, many of the vitamins plays a role in the energetics, the whole Krebs cycle and glycolysis. So we have NAD, which is niacin, as well as biotin here. And some of them are cofactors that for different enzymes or act as electron carriers. We actually get a lot of our B vitamins from grains. Um, uh, and that we actually used to take out the nutritious part of the grain. So when I was younger, we all had white bread. How exciting! It was a really exciting time. Now we know that because they took the outer part of the wheat germ away, and that's where all the nutrition was. And so there was actually not a lot of nutrition in white bread. So now they realize, oh, that was stupid. So they kept the whole wheat germ or most of it, and so you get a lot more than nutrients. Okay, so the bran layer is the outer part which has the nutrients. Okay. So now we know that the outer part is important, and a lot of things are fortified. So a lot of cereals have B vitamins that are added to it to give it a little bit more nutrition. Okay, we can start off with thiamine, which is a B vitamin that's important for metabolism of carbohydrates. Um, and it was discovered because people had a disease called beriberi. So with it wasn't a lot of this B vitamin, and they did the same thing for rice. So people used to consume brown rice, and then they extracted the outer part of the rice, and then they found that people had beriberi, or they had fatigue. They were tired all the time. And then notice if they had the rice again, the whole grain rice, that would disappear. So also people who are alcoholics, severe alcoholics, don't get enough of this vitamin, and they can have something called Wernicke-Korsakoff syndrome, and it's more of I don't know if you've ever seen anybody that was that severe. You can have severe memory problems. It's hard to communicate. In a sense, it's somewhat, a little bit of dementia, but it's caused by a B vitamin disorder. So it's too bad. But thiamine is found in many different foods, including fortified cereals, breads, sunflowers, and even pork and pasta. So most people get thiamine in their diet, about 2 milligrams a day. So some things you can get it in pretzels, in bagels, in ham and pork. So men need 1.2 and women need 1.1 milligrams. Okay. So another one is riboflavin. And riboflavin is very important in energy. And it also acts as an antioxidant. So it contains a 3-ring structure, and it's a yellow vitamin found in many milk products, as well as whole grain breads, and then some vegetables like broccoli and asparagus. So people who have a riboflavin deficiency have inflammation around the mouth and tongue, and sometimes they might have fatigue, anemia, confusion. So niacin is also an important B vitamin that plays a role in the oxidation reduction reaction. So in the electron transport and the Krebs cycle. So it could be in two forms, the nicotinic acid and the nicotinamide. And then it could be converted to NAD plus or NADP plus. So, and that's an important part in the energetics. So pellagra was found as a disease in the southeast United States in the early 1900s. And they killed up to 10,000 people. So, and sometimes they might end up in a mental hospital. So kind of severe. So having not enough niacin can really be a problem. So it's important to have a balanced diet. So foods high in niacin include chicken, tuna, and fortified cereals. Okay. So rice, beans, Cheerios, salmon contains niacin. Yeah. Okay, and the next one is pantothenic acid, and that actually is very common. So very few people have deficiency of pantothenic acid, and that is also important for energy metabolism. And it can be found in meat, milk, eggs, veggies, mushrooms, and yeast as well. Biotin is an interesting hormone. It's one vitamin. It's actually produced by the bacteria in our gut, so which is fascinating. It's important for the metabolism of carbohydrates and proteins and fats. So vitamin B6 is very important for many of the chemical reactions in the cell, and it's especially important for protein synthesis. So which it acts as a coenzyme, and that helps catalyze the reaction of non-essential amino acids. If you remember, we learned that there are essential amino acids and non-essential amino acids. So we can get non-essential amino acids from other amino acids if we just go through the process of converting it. Okay. So vitamin B6 can be found in plants, supplements, and fortified foods. It can be also found in animal products as PL, or it could also be found as an amine in animal products as well. Okay, folate is also a very interesting vitamin. So folate plays a role in making DNA, so DNA synthesis. So cells that are growing really fast need a lot of folate because they're dividing and they need to make more DNA. But unfortunately, what happens if there isn't enough folate, especially early on in development, a baby can get spina bifida. So this is where the spinal column doesn't get kind of is a little bit exposed in the body. So the cells divide too fast in early development. So there's not enough to make the neural tube. And so the baby has, sometimes it could be tiny, and sometimes it could be pretty major. And it can, cause almost no problems, or it can be a real, lifelong disability. So if you are a woman who is able to be pregnant, make sure that you have enough folate. Because actually 50% of all pregnancies are not planned. So you never know. So it's good to make sure that you do have enough folate. And the folate, having enough folate is really important, especially in the early part of pregnancy, even before a woman knows that she's pregnant. So, or if you plan on being pregnant, make sure that you consume enough folate so that when you do become pregnant, that your body has enough folate and your baby will be okay. So folate is very important in development. It's also important in cancer. So cancer is another type of cell that divides really quickly, and a lot of the early anti-cancer drugs worked on folate. So now there's a little bit more complicated cancer drugs, but many of them worked on folate. So if you don't have folate or that whole metabolism is blocked, then the cancer cells can't divide as fast. Okay, so folate can be found in many different things, in vegetables such as spinach, broccoli, and asparagus, in a little bit in orange juice. Sometimes it's a little bit added. Bran flakes cereal, so sometimes it's added in cereals. Chickpeas a little bit. So yeah, especially some of the vegetables. Okay. So vitamin B12 is another B vitamin, and it plays a role in folate synthesis and homocysteine metabolism. So you can get a type of anemia from not having enough vitamin B12. And that could end up, you can have some neurological changes that include tingling, especially in your extremities, burning in the leg, and high level of homocysteine. And that can be associated with heart disease, osteoporosis, and cognitive problems. So it's important to get vitamin B12. And here's a nice video on vitamin B12. So many people who are elderly and who have malabsorption syndromes might have, and people who don't have enough vegetables in their diet might end up with vitamin B12. So good sources of B12 are meat, poultry, fish, dairy products, and the absorption of vitamin B12 is added by protein produced by some of the cells in the stomach called the intrinsic factor. So it also is for some people who have gastric bypass surgery, where if they are obese, a surgeon, one treatment is to go and cut the stomach and make it very small and reroute the stomach into a later part of the intestine. And so people who had gastric bypass have to be aware of the B12 levels because that's made by cells in the stomach. Okay, so another vitamin is choline, but it's not yet considered a B vitamin. So choline is important for function of liver and kidneys, and it's important of the phospholipids. So phosphatidylcholine is actually an important signaler in the body. So it plays a role in signaling as well in the mind. And it makes a neurotransmitter called acetylcholine, and that is a major neurotransmitter that signals from neurons onto your muscles, as well as neurons in the brain. And acetylcholine is important for memory as well. So foods high in choline are milk, liver, eggs, and peanuts. Okay. And the next vitamin is vitamin C. And we can find that in citrus fruits, such as orange juice. And vitamin C is really important because it plays a role in the synthesis of collagen. So collagen is an important protein that's found in between the cells in our body, and it gives our skin and our skin some structure and also our bones. So it's really very important. And if you wrinkle, the part of that is because that collagen has been damaged a little bit. So it's important to have vitamin C to have good collagen. Okay, so some good things that have vitamin C include, of course, broccoli, green pepper, oranges, grapefruit juice, strawberries. And so it's important to have vitamin C. It's also an antioxidant.